Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome to 2021. It is the future. 2021 where everybody is healthy and the government is efficient. Not. Well, maybe one day, just not 2021. Hey guys, it is podcast episode number 13 and thanks for tuning in. This is take 2. Evidently, it's really hard to record a podcast when you don't press the record button and all you do is talk into nothing. Boy, oh boy. I was like, and it's funny because in the first take I was talking about whether or not I should label this episode 13, because unlucky 13, kind of like how they do in buildings where they just go from the 12th to the 14th floor. I'm like, maybe I should just go from episode 12 straight to episode 14. But I was like, you know what? Forget that. I am doing this. I am doing number 13. So here we go. As of right now, we are recording. So what are we going to talk about again? Well, we are going to talk about the N64 Warrior. Yes. What is that? Well, I'm going to explain it to you here in just a minute, but it was possibly going to be awesome, and then it is not awesome, as it turns out. We're going to talk about Riot and Bungie developers. They have teamed up to sue a hacker. And this isn't really big news, I guess, but I just thought it was interesting. So we're just going to take a moment to talk about that a little bit because I did think it was kind of interesting. Scott Pilgrim versus the World, that's getting a physical release. Yay! I've never played it, but I hear it's really good, so I definitely ordered that up, and we're going to talk about that too. And something else that I am fairly excited about is that Disney has brought back LucasArts, and they are going to put all of the Star Wars games underneath that one banner, which is fantastic. At least I think it's going to be fantastic. But we're going to wait and see. And there's more to it than this, but trust me, it's good. It's good, Okay, so let's get back. Man, I'm still a little ticked that I didn't press the record button. To be fair, I did press the record button. At some point, I pressed it to stop recording. And unfortunately, I thought, well, maybe I just did it. Nope. Yeah, I did it about 20 minutes ago. Oh, well, I'm over it. Okay, N64 Warrior. What is this thing? I heard about this about early last year. And I think it was on the CU podcast, they had kind of covered it. It was a Kickstarter that was just getting going, and it was going to basically be an HDMI solution for the N64. And if any of you guys out there have anything to do with the N64 in modern times, you know that there's difficulties with it. Namely, when you hook it up to a modern TV, it doesn't look good. It wasn't made for this generation, and it doesn't help the fact that out of all the systems that I can think of, at least in my opinion, I don't think that it has aged well at all. Well, I shouldn't say at all. I don't think it's as bad as everyone says it is sometimes, but it definitely, you can tell, it definitely wasn't made for the new TVs. So, there's been options out there in the past of solutions, but they can be pricey, and they can require you to have skills to mod your system, namely RGB mods and the creme de la creme, the Ultra HDMI mod, which is muy expensive. So when I heard about this, my ears definitely perked up. I was like, And then you didn't hear anything for a while, and I totally forgot about it. Until lately. And I guess the Kickstarter did fairly well. I mean, I just checked it right before we started recording here, and it looks like they already shipped out their first run of these machines. So, okay. So basically what you got here is you got two separate things. you have a kit that you could buy for $95, and that includes these RGB mod boards to put in your N64, and it comes with a new shell, a new design shell, and they're all different colors, kind of like the Funtastic shells that Nintendo came out with further on in the life of the 64. And then I think there's also a controller. I don't know if it's included or if you have to buy it separate, but it's pretty much a clone of the Hori controller. Excuse me. I haven't used the Hori controller because they're expensive and they're hard to find. But from what I've heard, it looks like the controller's decent, and it looks like the shell is it's made fairly well. Just the design is, up for debate whether or not you like it, your own personal preference. So now you have not only the kit, but then you can get the system itself already modded and everything else, like the whole thing. You got the motherboard in there, the mod board, and the shell. It's almost like a whole new system. So, like a lot of these companies do, they want to get some talk of their product out there. So they send it out to, YouTubers to review and kind of give their thoughts on it. So they send it to Metal Jesus Rocks. And, sometimes I kind of wonder what these companies are thinking, because they got to know what they have. And then if it ain't all that great, once it gets out there, you don't think that these guys aren't going to call you out on it. But so Metal Jesus gets this, and he's looking at it, and at first glance, everything on the outside looks good, especially the one that came already made up. Now, Metal Jesus, he didn't really talk about the kit all that much, just because that's not what he does. He doesn't have the knowledge to do that. But he can tell you what it's like once he starts playing it, and that's when it kind of goes downhill a little bit. Basically, it doesn't look that great. He equates it to looking like those HDMI cables that you can get from Hyperkin and Pound, and those only cost $30. So, compared to having to get a new console for $150 or a mod kit for, $95, these cords that Hyperkin and Pound make, and there's a couple other companies that make them too, but they all look the same. And if you've been around N64 collecting even just a little bit, you know what I'm talking about, because these cords always give that picture that's kind of saturated. The colors are just really saturated. The reds are always really, really red and washed out. It's not the greatest option, obviously. And I was really, and I know I'm kind of dumping on the thing a little bit here, but I was really disappointed, because I was really excited, because, for $150, I'll pop on that, if it's HDMI, because the company actually equated it to the Ultra HDMI. They compared it to that, and that's saying a lot. And he called him out. Metal Jesus called him out on it and said, "Hey, this is not the same." And he had on the screen, he did a side comparison, and it's night and day. Because Ultra HDMI is as good as you're going to get. And this is not as good as you're going to get. And, red flags kind of go up, because when you're talking about one thing that costs $400+ to have done, and then the other thing's $150, that's kind of, I would think that it's a red flag, unfortunately. So he gets done, and he basically he just says, "Look, I can't recommend this to anybody, because it's just not worth it. It's not what they're saying it's going to do," right? So I think a month goes by, and Bob over at RetroRGB.com gets a hold of these things. It's sent over by Metal Jesus. And if you know Bob, he dives right into it, and he leaves no stone unturned. And basically he says, "Hey, these boards that they're putting in are a poor design. I don't know why they put these in there, because there's other boards that are open source out there on the market that they could have used that are way better than this. The picture that you're getting isn't great. And on top of it, where are they getting these boards for these systems that are already pre-assembled? And that's the thing too. And some people are going to have a problem with this. I kind of have a problem with it, but I'm not really that adamant about it. But they were taking already made N64s. It wasn't their own boards that they were printing out. They weren't new. And this taking them out of the original shells and putting them in these new ones and doing the mod and sending it out. And I don't know how I feel about that. I'd rather they didn't do that, but it's not killing me that they are. But it kind of makes it worse that the thing that they're doing it for kind of doesn't seem like it's worth it. And on the flip side, I don't know what those guys were thinking, because now part of your business is anchored to the fact that you got to find more N64s out in the wild. And especially as time goes on, they're going to get less and less. And with the way prices are going now because of the pandemic, you're going to spend a lot, man. So I don't know how you're still planning on making money, unless that $150 for the pre-made console was just for the Kickstarter, and then they were going to bump that up to like $200. Good luck with that. I'm not saying that that's what they were going to do. They didn't say that, but I don't know. I'm just spitballing here, guys. So anyway, Bob puts it through, and he says, it's pretty much garbage. And, which by that point, you already kind of knew from what Metal Jesus was saying. And it was disappointing. I really wish this would have turned out to be something, because, emulation for the 64 is still kind of hit or miss. It's just, from what I understand, it's difficult to do. Hyperkin has been working on that emulation machine, as far as I know. I mean, we haven't heard anything in a while about that, but I gotta imagine that they're still working on it in some fashion. And with that, and you don't even know what kind of quality output you're going to get from that either. So I don't know. I collect for the N64 every great once in a while. I'll pick up another game, but it's not high on my list as far as collecting right now. So fingers crossed. I really like it. It's a good system. It's got a special place in my heart. I say that about all my systems, though, so they're all a special place in my heart. All right. So Riot and Bungie teamed up together to sue a hacker called GatorCheats, because he's making these cheats where it's unfair to all the rest of the players, basically just making it not a fun time, because these players that have these cheats are just blowing right through everybody. And I thought this was interesting, because I had kind of had an experience with this back in my PC gaming days with the original Modern Warfare online, which I loved to play. And I'd get my ass kicked every time because people were so good at it. But after a while, I started dishing out a little bit of the ass whooping. Just a little bit. But you would come across players that were cheating. And back then, they weren't really coming down, like these developer companies weren't really coming down on people too much, because I don't know that they were aware of it as much back then, or if they were just behind on their reaction to it. And I'll be honest with you, that was kind of the reason why I stopped playing the game. And I think that's what they're worried about here, because so Riot and Bungie both have games out there that are free to play. And they make their money from pretty much in-game purchases, which is fine. I mean, you don't have to, but that's what they make their money off of. So now basically what they're saying is if these guys come in and start cheating and people start saying this ain't any fun, then we're out. Then they're out. And we're not making any money, because all the money we make are people going and playing these games and paying for in-game purchases. So the lawsuit says this. It says, a vital part of the player experience is the fairness and integrity of the games, and thus plaintiff invests an enormous amount of time and money to ensure that all players stand an equal footing and have a fair chance of progressing in the games. If players perceive that others are cheating or have an unfair advantage, they will grow frustrated with the games and stop playing. That in turn could disrupt or destroy the game's player communities and severely harm plaintiffs' ability to generate revenue and to maintain, improve, and expand the games. And I agree. If the games are free, if they're letting people play them for free, and they're depending on, that money to come in from in-game purchases, I understand that. And, like I said, I guess I don't really have too much to say about this. I just thought it was interesting when it came across my radar because I'm like, I had experienced this, and it does make you not want to play, because at least when I went on there and I would get my ass kicked by players that were just better than me, I knew I just had to get better. And eventually I was going to start doling it out too. I mean, don't get me wrong. I was dying right and left, but I was taking some people with me towards the end there. And when you would come into a game and it would just, every time you'd have these guys just blowing through everybody, and it was like, okay. It's like, but this is stupid. I just, and I wasn't necessarily mad about it, but it was enough to where I stopped playing it as much. I didn't quit cold turkey, but I played it less and less, and then it's just, and I always think about that. I'm like, God, it's like, why do people always got to ruin it for everybody? Every time you go online, there's always that group of people that are ruining the shit for everybody else. Come on, guys. What the hell? So, I hope they get that guy. Cheaters never come out on top, man. You know what I'm saying? Okay. So, as of today, Scott Pilgrim versus the World, the pre-orders are up on limited run games for a physical copy. And I think it's for the Switch and the PS4. I don't know about the Xbox One. I didn't see that. But it's up. And I love that. I've never played the game, but I'm really excited to play it. For $34, why not? I love physical media. But I did love the movie. I have watched the movie. I love that movie. And if you've never seen it, you got to give it a try, because it actually stars quite a bit of people that you'll recognize. Michael Cera, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, Chris Evans, Brandon Ruth, Aubrey Plaza, Jason Schwartzman, and Andrew Kendricks. And there's a couple other too. I think Brie Larson's in it too. Anna McCulkin. Culkin. I don't know which one. After Macaulay, I don't know. Y'all look the same. Y'all look like, you may have just gotten off a bender, doing a little something. Anyway, I shouldn't have said that, but, you guys all know what I'm talking about. So anyway, this game was originally released in 2010 in the digital stores for the PS3 and the Xbox 360. And there was never a physical copy made. It was just strictly digital. But then, it was developed by Ubisoft, but then it was taken down in 2014 due to licensing expiration, which sucks. And, of course, with anything digital, is gone until, the people that own the game decide to do something with it. Either renew a license and make it available again or whatever. And starting about, 1 or 2 years ago, I started hearing about, limited run games should really look into doing Scott Pilgrim versus the World. And I agree. I love limited run games. I love that company. I have so much stuff from them. And it's so great that a company like that is out there. And I know there's other places that do kind of the same thing, but some of them are expensive. And, I think it's Strictly Rare Games is another one that kind of does that stuff, but their shit is overpriced like a lot. I mean, I look at that place and what they want for some of these games, and I'm like, you're out of your damn mind. Well, anyway, not to get off subject here, but limited run games as of today. So today is January 15th. Pre-orders up, and the pre-order is going to go to, I believe, February 28th, which is, a decent amount of time. Open pre-orders. Analog. Hey, let's try this out, huh? Anyway, yeah, and, I've never played the game. It's a beat 'em up, 7 stages, and, it's just like the movie where you got to, beat up you got to beat up the evil X's to be able to date Ramona Flower. Good game? Maybe. Everyone says it's good. It looks good. So, you know what? And I picked up the vinyl. As much as I collect vinyl, actually this past year I didn't collect that much, but I have never picked up a soundtrack on vinyl for any of the games. And you know what? I was just like, why not? Let's pick this one up. And I think I'm going to go ahead. I'm just going to do that when I go on to, not for every game, because, not every game's a gem. But, yeah, I think that's something I'm going to start doing. Hey, congratulations, one more thing I'm collecting. That's what I need. But, yeah, should go on there. Get it, February 28th. I don't know when you're going to actually get the game, but, sometimes they take forever, but... you eventually get it. So, this next part I am really excited about, and I hope that my excitement isn't too much. But Star Wars is now, the Star Wars games are now going to be under LucasArts once again. Now, Disney had gotten rid of LucasArts about 8 or 9 years ago. And, Disney just didn't really give a shit. Everything was going to be under Star Wars, and, this is our way now. But, and for those of you that don't know what LucasArts is, originally it started off in, I think 1982 as Lucasfilms, and then later on, closer to the 90s, it became LucasArts. And they made a lot of video games that maybe you're familiar with, like TIE Fighter, Rogue Squadron, what's that one? Maniac Mansion, Monkey Island, which I just bought from Limited Run Games for the Sega CD. Great game. So this is kind of exciting. It's not the same company necessarily. After they got rid of it back in the day, it's a different entity here. But it still is cool. The name is back, and they're going to put everything underneath that same banner. It's all going to be LucasArts. And hopefully, going forward, this is going to mean a shift for how these games are made. Because, as we all know, EA has all the exclusive rights until, I believe, 2023 to make all Star Wars games. And they made that deal back in 2013. So, and, opinions vary on how EA has done, but I know they did take a lot of shit over those microtransactions in Battlefront or whatever. And I'll be honest with you, I've never been a fan of any Battlefront games, whether they're Star Wars or not. It just wasn't my cup of tea. And I just don't think that was necessarily the best move, to give one company the rights to do all those games. Because what happens if that company just sucks at making those games? Because EA ain't the same company that it used to be. It's kind of a different beast than what it was in the 90s. Let's be clear about that. This isn't the same. Good or bad, right or wrong, whatever, but it's not the same. And I think it's a little bit more for the worse side there. But anyway, but what they did say is that one of the games that's being developed by Ubisoft is an open world Star Wars game in the Star Wars universe. And that is really exciting. And I got to tell you, it sounds like something that's just going to make it hard for me to do podcasts and make videos, because all I'm going to want to do is sit there and play this thing. Now, I don't know when it's supposed to come out, because this just got announced. So who knows how far they are into this. But now I'm really interested in getting a new generation console, because I want to play this, you know. And they have done kind of open world stuff before, kind of. And if you go back and remember the not so popular Star Wars Galaxies or whatever, and you know, obviously it's still not running, but that was kind of like a MMO online, and that was still LucasArts. That was pre-Disney, and you know, I never played it, but for good reason. It just did not sound like it was a good deal. But then they got rid of that, and then they got Knights of the Old Republic, the MMO, and I did play that. And I'm not a RPG guy, but you put lightsabers into the mix, and you're gonna get me to play it. I'm sorry, lightsabers are the closing deal. Like, you know, if someone was like, I want to buy your house for $1, and I'm like, get the hell out of here. He's like, and I'm going to give you this lightsaber. I said, it's yours. It's yours. You know, make it 2 lightsabers and it's yours. So, yeah, we're going to see how this goes. I don't know how this is really going to change anything, though, because, you know, EA still has the rights to this thing till 2023. So I don't know what they're making, because, you know, most of their stuff has just been known as Battlegrounds. I don't know what else they've been making, and if I'm missing something here, you know, obviously, because I think I've told you guys before, I've been more of an old school gamer lately. I don't have the newer consoles outside of the Switch, so maybe I'm missing something here, other games that they have come out with, but yeah, I just, I don't know. I think this is really exciting. And I know it's just a name. I know LucasArts is just a name, but I don't know. Maybe. Just maybe it'll be great. Well, this is a short one, guys. Yeah, I'm going to end it here, I think. I know, I feel like I'm missing something here. I don't know how, because I've only gone over this like twice with you guys. But you know what, maybe next time I got to make sure that, you know, I don't press the stop recording button halfway through and have to go back. I hope I talked about everything I wanted to talk about with you guys, because well, we'll find out. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you guys are having a great start to 2021. Don't get involved in all the craziness that's going on. Just don't. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. And if you're listening to this podcast, then you know you have a lot of games sitting there on the shelf. Turn the news off, fire up that video game system, and let's play some games. Folks, thanks for tuning in. I love y'all. Take care, and good night.